Hey y'all, I wanted to welcome you to Paradise. This is the new YouTube channel that Michael and I have created really to minister His Spirit and His life to you. We want every single time that you watch us, we want you to fall so in love with Jesus. That's the only thing. If what we're saying right now, if you don't fall more in love with Jesus, it's completely worthless. And so what we want you to do is we want you to experience what God has created you for, which was heaven on earth. We want you to live in paradise right here, right now. And so what I want to do is I want to share a story with my buddy Ethan. Ethan and I, we met a few months ago at City Market here in Woodland Park, Colorado, where we work. And so I met this man a few months ago. The Lord did amazing things, and I'm going to let him share the story with you and truly where he's been and who he is today.
So, my name is Ethan Richardson. I've had a long life of the devil just really trying to get a hold of me and get a hold of my life and just destroy all of it, every last little bit of it. I guess what I want to start this with is, every time I've tried to do this by myself, it's never worked. And I don't know how many times I've come back to God and ran away from Him. Every single time He finds me, and every time I try to do it myself, it never works, ever. And that's true for any of us. So, I guess so when I was like 11 or 12 years old, my parents got a divorce, and I was going to private Christian schooling at the time. Well, I ended up in a public school in Ohio, back in Ohio where I grew up. And so going to public school, I was not used to this crowd or this life, and I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be a cool kid, or be in with that cool group of people that is popular or whatever at school. And that led me to a place where I was drinking and smoking every single day. I mean, as much as possible, partying as much as possible, just everything you could possibly imagine, like high school, just drugs, drinking, just when I was about 14 or 15 years old, I had an experience where I was hanging out with one of my friends, and we had just invited some people over, and I was sitting there on his couch, and the people had just got there, and he pulled out this bottle, and it had pills in it, and he said, "I don't know what these are, but let's take a couple." I said, "Okay." So I took two, and I woke up in a hospital with tubes in my body all over. And when I woke up, they told me that I had flatlined, and they weren't sure if I was going to make it. My buddy as well, we both had flatlined. When I went through this experience and they told me that I had flatlined, I'm thinking, I should have seen the light that everyone talks about when you die. And all I saw was darkness. It was completely pitch black. And either God was real and that was hell, or God wasn't real and that was just, there's nothingness when you die. So to me in that moment, I didn't want to believe that I was in a place where I was going to hell. And I continued with that lifestyle for several more years. I had a lot of my buddies start trying harder things, just besides, drinking and smoking and a little bit of, maybe cocaine or something. It got to the point to where all of my best friends, my closest friends, were all doing heroin, like snorting pills, and it wasn't something that I was, it wouldn't look cool for me to say, "Oh, well, stop that, stop that lifestyle." And in a place I was at, it was such a overwhelming thing for me. And I just saw all my friends going down this dark path. So, that was 2016 or 2017, and I moved to my mom's house in Bloomington, Indiana. And some of my friends started passing away at that point, and they weren't even 20 years old yet. And it really pushed me the opposite direction in life, and just angry at God. God, why did you take these people from me? You did this, and the devil lying to me the whole time, me unaware of what was even going on. I kind of want to sum it up and tell you that I've found the Lord now, and it's more than I could ever imagine, as far as what I have with peace of mind. And like, I wake up, and I used to wake up and I didn't want to be alive. I didn't even want to be on this earth, and I wake up now with happiness. And so this all came about. I tried out for the Navy in Florida last year. I was living there this past summer, and that didn't work out because I have asthma, and that was devastating. I was supposed to be 8 years on a submarine, so obviously, that's a lot of your life. So I had nowhere to turn, nowhere, no direction whatsoever. And I talked to my mom, and she said, well, why don't you come stay out here with us in Colorado and see if you like it? So I came out here, and I looked for a job for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I tried just about everywhere. I told myself I wasn't going to work at like a Wendy's or anything like that, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I worked a lot of fast food prior to moving out here, and I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I put in a couple applications at different places, and I get a call back from City Market here in Woodland Park, and I'm working there for about a month, and I was working as a courtesy clerk up front, and I loved it, meeting people, and my life just seemed like direction was coming. So the produce manager apparently had his eye on me, and he asked me one day. He said, "You want to try out this produce thing, see if you like it?" I said, "Well, sure. If I don't like it, I don't have to do it." So I tried out. Well, I'm over in produce for a while, and I've met Charles, and Charles, within the first day of us really meeting and talking, he's already asking me where I am with the Lord. And I just told him, I said, I'm on the fence. I don't have a decision made up in my mind right now, for sure. And we started getting to talking, and it's like, well, you kind of do have a decision made up. You don't want God, and I started to realize more and more as time was going on that this is something I really needed to take care of, and like, this is serious, this is important. And so one day, through situations and circumstances that Charles was going through, he came up to me, and he was going through some things, and he told me that the same God that was helping him was the same God that I was angry at. And I was completely broken. I can't even explain how crushed, everything that I was blaming God for, everything, my whole childhood just attached all together, just gone. Instantly, I lost it. I was crushed, and I just went to the back room. I asked Charles, I was like, you care if I go in the back for a second and just chill? So I went back there. I fell on my knees, and I told him, I said, I don't know how my knees are doing because I fell on them pretty hard. But in that moment, I absolutely was transformed. My life is going to be different for the rest of my time here on this earth because of that moment. And I appreciate Charles so much, and I appreciate the love he showed me right off the bat, and just concerned about my where my soul lied, and I barely knew the guy. So it goes to say a lot, and I wake up every day now with purpose and direction, and I'm not perfect, but I am looking to chase God every single day of my life, and I really, really am excited to see what's gonna happen. So
Yeah. And it's so fun that, like he said, he wakes up every single day now with a purpose. He wakes up every single day to bless someone else. And what I did in sowing Jesus' spirit and life, how much Jesus cares for you, is what you get to do for the rest of your life with the people that you meet.
amen.
People that I will never meet will come to the Lord because of you. And I get to rejoice for the rest of my life because of that. And when you understand that this is such a big deal, that, dude, if you had died in that moment, you would have died not knowing him and going to hell.
That's exactly what would happen.
But now you know Jesus, the one who paid that price for you. And you'll be with him right now and then forever. And it's, I want to just ask a few questions that I wrote down. But what was the biggest change in your life after truly saying, Jesus, you have my everything?
I think the biggest change was like what we've kind of been saying. Just, I wake up in the morning and I want to be alive. There's a reason to be alive. There's hope, I didn't have any hope whatsoever. I was depressed. I wanted to kill myself. Every day that I woke up, and now it's such a change in my life that my stomach and my mind and physically I'm settled, and I just feel so much better. I'm so thankful to God. I'm just so thankful, man.
Yeah. And then explain what that moment was like when I told you the same God that you've been so angry at is the same one who's helping your friend right now. You came back to me 30 seconds later and you were drenched in your own tears and you were shivering.
Yeah.
And then you went and you fell on your knees before God. Tell me what was that like when you experienced his presence all over you?
I literally don't have words to explain it. I guess I could say comfort. I felt like I was being held. When you first told me that, though, I never expected anything to ever break the stubbornness in my mind that was holding me back from going towards God. I never expected anything for the rest of my life to change that. So when you said that, really it was a whole lot of feelings, because I didn't expect to ever feel different about God, and instantly just felt awful. I felt like a horrible human being, and all those things that, basically blind spots, they all became so clear, and it's a lot easier now, to see those things and be able to work on them.
Yeah.
So
I remember when I found Jesus, and a lot of you know my story. I used to be an alcoholic living in sexual immorality, and I almost got kicked out of college because of my grades. That moment when I found Jesus, I still remember where I was in my parents' neighborhood, just on the side of the road. God arrested me and told me that I could come home and live with him for the rest of my life in eternity. And I was crying for hours, because that same feeling that you had of just complete and total comfort and peace.
yeah.
And that's the first true peace that I've ever felt in my life. And for 5 years now, over 5 years, I've been preaching the same message to you, because there's no other way to go. Are you going to go any other way than Jesus?
Oh no.
Where else do you go? There's nothing that brings you that, where it just cripples you and brings you to your knees in such a beautiful surrender. And so each one of you today has that opportunity to give him everything. And I don't see why you wouldn't. This is the best thing ever. And that's why I told you, I was able to tell you those hard truths that you needed to hear, because this is the best news ever. And if you don't take it, it'll be the worst mistake ever.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm so glad you did say something to me, and it's important to remember. I think a good thing to say, or a good word of advice, is to be bold. be bold about your faith, because I would have never came to a place in my mind. I don't see myself ever coming to a place where I would have found the Lord without Charles saying what he said. Even if it may have been offensive to me, that didn't matter. Where your soul is going to end up when you die matters.
Dude, come on.
So
that's so true. And it's not hateful to disagree and say those things that are hard to hear. I can say those things because I would literally give my life for you. I would literally give my life for you to hear the good news of Jesus. And it's the truth. And so, dude, if I haven't heard those hard truths, I would have never grown. If you didn't hear those hard truths, you would have never been in the presence of Jesus like you were. And so the final question I want to ask you is, where do you want to be in your love for Jesus?
I think as much as is possible in my lifetime on this earth, I want to get as close with God as possible, because every time I've been far from Him or not as close as I could be, life never works. It never works. It won't. And it actually will not work. Literally.
I know what you mean.
So, yeah, I appreciate you, man. I love you, brother.
Yeah, I love you too. And this is available to anyone that's out there. Whether you have been down his road of flatlining and overdosing, or whether you are grown up in the church but you don't know Jesus. There's so many people who have grown up in the church who don't know Him. This is not a set of rules I'm inviting you into. This is the freedom and liberation of your first breath. Your first breath that comes from God. You have the opportunity now to live a new life where the old is literally gone, as if you'd never sinned before. That's what His perfect blood can do. And He can wash you, because Jesus went to the cross to pay for your sin. Something He never did. He paid for your sin because He loves you. And He didn't stay there, but He resurrected. And He didn't just resurrect. He ascended to the Father. And He says that just as He is, so are we in this world. We're sitting right next to the Father right now. And how beautiful is that we can be in the presence of God whenever we want. And no matter what storms of life, like you said, have come upon me, I love Jesus. And there's no stopping. There's no going back. There's nothing but Him. And if you want to change people's life, let your life be for Him. You know, 2 Timothy talks about keeping away from idle babbling. When I came in, and how long did it take to talk about Jesus?
Not very long.
No, it doesn't have to take long. If you want someone's life changed, talk about Jesus. All that should come out of you, whether it's a situation that's hard in your life and you're being squeezed, is all that comes out Jesus. Or when the times are good, are you going to be talking about anything else, or are you going to talk about Jesus? Because ministry is simply the overflow of the abundance and intimacy you have with Him. That's going to change lives like His. So I want to encourage you, if you have not said yes to Jesus, give Him everything and lay down your life for Him. So y'all, we love you, and make that decision today. Bye-bye.